Thank you all for joining us here today. The intention of these webinars is to give our advisor partners relevant information and ideas that you can use with clients to have more engaging, healthy client conversations. With this in mind, I'd like to remind you of the information we recently sent out concerning the NIB Intermediary Agreement. With advisor licensing just around the corner, we took the opportunity last month to issue an updated intermediary agreement that reflects the environment we'll all be working in over the next few years. And I want to thank those advisors who provided us with suggestions during the development of the agreement. We recognise the important role that you play in meeting a member's needs at inception and throughout the member life cycle, and respect the contractual relationship that you have with NIB in delivering quality member outcomes. The updated agreement was sent out on the 12th of February to all advisors with an NIB intermediary agreement. It included a summary of changes and answers to questions which we anticipate you may have, so you can easily see and understand the changes we have made. One of the changes we have made is around how we will respond to requests for a change in servicing advisor. Our intention is to ensure members understand the alternatives available to them and make informed choices. Feedback on the agreement has been very positive, so if you have not already done so, please set aside the time to review the information and also make sure anyone else who works with you under your NIB intermediary agreement is made aware of how the agreement affects them. The updated agreement will take effect on 15 March, the same date as transitional licensing and the new code of conduct commences. And later on this week, we will be sending all advisors a simple process for confirming you are able to provide advice under the new licensing regime and that you understand NIB's products and solutions. As always, your feedback informs our future direction. So be sure to engage with your advisor partner manager if you have any questions or ideas that will support our goal of being the health partner of choice for you and for your clients. In today's webinar, NIB's Health Engagement Manager, Megan Grimwood, will focus on how our dedicated ACC team works with our claims team, our healthcare partners, and ACC to achieve fantastic outcomes for your clients, our members. Megan will provide insights on improvements that NIB have made to ensure members aren't missing out on ACC entitlements, and how our approach provides a clear advantage to your clients that have an NIB policy. Our Advisor Partner Manager, Andrew Hurley, will then follow up with a Q&A session on ACC. Over to you, Megan.
Thanks for the handover, Chris. Kia ora all. As Chris has just laid out, I am Megan Grimwood and I am the Health Engagement Manager here at NIB. I've been with NIB for about just over 12 months now, and I've been very fortunate to have been charged with leading some of these changes that have been happening within NIB in the ACC space. Our purpose here at NIB is achieving better health, protecting our members against the financial risk of disease, sickness and injury, and ensuring that members have access to world-class healthcare wherever they are in the world, while also ensuring that we help our members to better prevent illness. For NIB as a health partner, our strategy is to move from a position of health payer to health partner. This means alongside all the usual benefits that health insurers offer, we are really stepping up the way that we protect, connect and empower your clients, our NIB members. By way of providing some background around ACC and how the corporation fits in with health insurance, and in particular with NIB, ACC, the Accident Compensation Corporation, is New Zealand's crown entity. It's responsible for administering the country's universal no-fault accidental injury scheme. The scheme provides financial compensation and support for citizens, residents, and also to temporary visitors who have suffered personal injury. For those amongst us that like numbers, I thought I'd include a few. In 2019, there was a total of 2 million new claims lodged with ACC. For the 2017-18 year, ACC received just shy of 17,000 and accepted just shy of 10,000 claims for injuries that were caused by treatment injuries. In early 2020, a review was conducted in-house looking at NIB's business practices for how we were managing ACC referrals and claims, and ultimately how this was impacting the member journey. From this review came a summary of actions and recommendations, which were identified as being able to support NIB and its members with the ACC claims. Initially, the recommendations were trialled in a pilot, and this occurred around the same time that we went into our first lockdown with COVID-19. But even with all the challenges that brought, we were still able to have run with huge success, and it's then since gone on to be implemented much longer term. So what exactly has changed for your clients when we talk about implementing change? So there were some overarching changes that were implemented, which I'll discuss a bit more here. So as a health partner, we really are committed to helping our members navigate the New Zealand health system. We know, and I'm sure you can all appreciate, that the health system can be a challenge at the best of times. What we also know is that when ACC comes into play, the complexities increase tenfold. To sum up these changes, essentially what NIB has done is we've moved to establish a team with 2 dedicated ACC coordinators, or actually more aptly named, they're case managers. These case managers coordinators were selected based on a particular set of skills, which would ensure that they had an in-depth knowledge and understanding of ACC and its processes. The 2 people that you would deal with on the phones or in emails kindly gave up their photos for today's presentation. And I just thought that was a nice way that if ever you're having contact with them, you'll know who it is on the other end of that phone or email. So just by way of introduction, there's Rwinia, and then there's Archana, who you'll often see her sign off her emails as Archie. Archie and Rwinia are supported by myself and by another member of the team directly, but obviously and naturally they're also supported by the wider NIB team to ensure that members have a claim-free experience, a seamless experience. This team are dedicated to case management and to ensuring that members have the best experience possible. As well as standing up this team, we've ensured that we've got brand new start-to-end processes which assist us with detection and recovery of ACC claims and faster handling of these claims. And what does that mean? It means now we've got lots and lots of success stories. So why did we implement this change? There were many reasons. What we know for a fact is that many members and health providers do consider health insurers as the fastest option for covering treatment costs associated with injury. But this in itself creates barriers, which I'll address a little bit later on into this presentation. We wanted to ensure that NIB processes supported robust identification of new and previously declined personal injuries that were caused either by accidents or by treatment injuries. We wanted to prevent NIB and members incurring claims costs through failing to recognise procedures where costs should really be held by the third-party ACC. And we also wanted to prevent members from missing out on entitlements to benefits from ACC through missed claims. But ultimately what we were out to do is we wanted to improve our member experience by ensuring we had top-notch ACC knowledge and we had great processes in place. So what does this mean for our members? In a nutshell, value. We have a much higher success rate this way by being able to overturn previously declined claims and faster identification of claims that should be lodged with ACC. This means that we have the right people at the right time engaged in care. This means that members are sure to be able to access everything they need on their journey back to wellness. We also have access to NIB's legal representation. When we've exhausted all our in-house resources and we haven't been able to reach a resolution with ACC, this is when we reach out to JML, who are well known as being the experts in all things ACC. We all know that when an NIB member has a question or a query, they're able to call in through to our customer care team. And while this is great, we now, with having the ACC team, are able to add another layer of this onto our members. For those that have got active ACC claims with us, they're now able to connect directly with just one person. That's that one person who's a case managed and assigned to their case. What does this mean? This means that they can call through or they can email their case manager and they can have all their questions and queries and concerns answered by one person who really understands what it is that's going on in that member's journey at that time. There's a value add-on when it comes to advocacy and support. What we've seen is that we have many members who have had claims that they didn't even know that there should have been an ACC claim lodged for. As I discussed before, we know that practitioners are often really reluctant to lodge claims because they think that it's much faster to go through the other way. And therefore they often will it can almost be set up so that ACC is not even discussed. It's once we're able to have a discussion with members around the benefits and that can come from having those additional entitlements from ACC, that when they're able to then either advocate on their behalf, or we're able to give them all the information that they need so that they can feel empowered enough to go to their health practitioner and ask for an ACC claim to be lodged. We also have within our business what we identify as vulnerable members. These are members who, for whatever reason, are encountering barriers in their wellness journey. What we're able to do is what we know is that when people have active ACC claims, there's an additional amount of stress around them. This can impact people's mental health. There's also a huge amount of financial stuff going on for them. By the close relationships that our case managers are able to form with these members, we're able to identify when things might be a bit tougher for these members, and we're able to look within the business and identify the other things that we have that are there that we can reach out to create additional support around our members. One of the major things about having an ACC team and being able to have overturned decisions accepted is the fact that we're able to assist members to unlock additional ACC benefits and entitlements. While we all know that health insurance is an amazing thing to have and it offers so much more to people, there's also some additional stuff that ACC can provide that we just don't ever want to see members miss out on. These are things like alterations to a person's home, return to work schemes where people can go in and occupational health can go in and assess workplace so that people can get back up and running. They can also help with the stuff attached to financial constraints and returning to work and the payments that are assisted around there. Without the ACC acceptance, these are a lot of things that people just aren't able to engage with. What we know is that when an ACC claim is going through, the process can be very, very long and drawn out. As I'm sure you can imagine, just due to simply to human error, sometimes when things go on for a long time, small things can become overlooked. What we know is that when we've had claims that go on for an excess of 2 years, though we fight them through the courts, is that by the time you get to the end of the process, it could be well and truly forgotten about an excess being returned or a no claims discount being reinstated. By the processes that we've put in place, this is no longer an issue because that one case manager is all over that case and they now know, and members are so excited to be able to see their excesses being returned. As I'm sure many of you are aware, NIB has a fantastic set of population health programs, and a lot of these health programs are around things like backs, hips and joints, which we know for a lot of our members who are injured, these are things that have long-term effects on them. Through having the ACC case managers working with them, we're able to closely identify members who we believe would be really, really suitable for these programs, and we're able to support them to transition over and take advantage of these great programs and what they have to offer, all at no cost to the member. So we really are here for your clients. So what are our processes and how does this all happen? Cases come through to our team in a few different ways. Claims and pre-approvals, sometimes from your advisors, members, and more recently, interestingly enough, we've been having ACC refer work directly back to us. These claims are either previously declined by ACC or they're accidents or treatment injuries which have gone undetected or simply not lodged, and this is often due to practitioner resistance. We also run a monthly analysis of all our claims data based on certain criteria to ensure that no claims are lost. This allows us to identify claims that have maybe been historically overlooked that we're now able to pick up several years down the track and actually be able to sometimes reinvent life into them. From here, positive cases are assigned to just one case manager who's responsible for creating a management plan from start to finish. This always includes communication with the member directly. It has robust consent processes, and more often than not, there are multiple calls and emails to providers, ACC, and our legal team. This entire process can take anywhere from a few weeks to an excess of 2 years to reach a final conclusion, especially if we end up going through the courts. Our personal best since we've had this team running is 15 working days from pre-approval to being fully funded by ACC, and this is something I can assure you I'm very, very proud of. As our processes are continued to be fine-tuned, we're also becoming much, much better at identifying claims which should be with ACC early, and we're able to get these accepted before members' surgical dates even come around. And its staff is amazing because it means once the surgeries happen, we've got everything lined up there ready for that member to go. So what's our working relationship with ACC like? We have a constantly strengthening relationship with ACC. They were extremely supportive when we reached out to them when we were starting, and they continue to work really, really well with our team. We've got an active MOU with ACC that ensures that our members get access to healthcare without any delays when surgical applications are made. The purpose of the MOU was designed to create a service model that enables members to have surgery as soon as possible, and the issue of funding then just stands over until after the surgical date. You know, even without the MOU, the energy that we're putting into relationship building has certainly started to pay off, as we're now able to see many more early resolutions met. So is it hard to get claims lodged? Health practitioners? In short, yes, it is often a challenge. ACC has a long history of legislative change, and although medical injury has always been covered under the scheme, the compensation of medical injury has not always been without fault for doctors. Prior to 2005, patients could obtain compensation by proving medical error, and it was because all findings of error were then reported to medical counsel, compensation could bring disciplinary repercussions for doctors. This situation was thankfully rectified in 2005 under the no-fault legislative reform. These reforms extended eligibility to all injuries caused by treatment and replaced the prior reporting duties with a new duty, which was to then only report risk of harm to the public, and it was to be reported only to the authorities responsible for patient safety. These changes were great because this then freed doctors up to participate in the compensation claims process with little fear, and it also improved information flows within the system, which is always a great thing. However, many practitioners we find still in practice are still practicing with apprehension and fear. What this requires then from us is we need to continue to knowledge build with them. So we then reach out. We're always very, very careful to remind practitioners around the changes to the legislation, and we're also really keen, and we make sure that we follow up with the practitioners when we've had things overturned, and this helps practitioners to start to see that there isn't any follow-up with them regarding their own practice. Another issue we encounter is that ACC decision making is very much dependent on the government of the day and budgets, etc. Many practitioners are of the mindset that a claim will most often be declined, which is sad in itself, but therefore they're really unwilling to invest the time that's required to support us to lodge a challenge. Again, it's the good work of Archie and Rowinia that they're able to reach out and explain to these practitioners that it's more than just about this, and that actually those additional entitlements that will come from having a claim accepted have such a massive value to that member in their journey onto their wellness. It's with this that we're often able to get them on board, and we really do need them to be on board with us because we're often asking them to report right for us, to advocate strongly on behalf of our members. We do also sometimes encounter issues with members who've already had their surgery, so for them they see very little value at that point added to themselves by assisting us to overturn a decision. Again, it's through the great work of Archie and Rowinia that we're able to get members to see these additional benefits that ACC can provide to them, as well as that added level of security that comes from having an injury accepted should they require additional follow-up years and years into the future. Some of the other feedback we hear relates to members not wanting to upset their surgeon or ACC, and again, we can completely understand this. It's obviously quite a challenging thing to go out to your surgeon and say, hey, you know, this thing that happened here, I'd actually really appreciate it if we could lodge a treatment injury because I don't think things necessarily went the way we had anticipated. And again, we often have people who've already got active claims relating to another part of their body in with ACC, and they're reluctant because they're concerned that perhaps if they challenge on this, then they'll get a black mark against their name. But again, we're able to work with them. We're able to use that skill and that knowledge that we've got around ACC to provide members with that reassurance that they need in order to work with us to get a positive result for them. So how do members generally respond to our team and the new processes we've got? For the vast majority, we are receiving great feedback. Dealing with ACC can be a really stressful experience, and to have someone take over that is very well received. Plus, once we explain that having a claim overturned, what that can mean for the member, they definitely have a new appreciation of the importance of continuing on with that process with us right there beside them as a partner in helping them. The added benefit of having such a high-profile legal team take over their claim at no cost to them is also huge, and many people just can't even believe that it's happening. In my experience prior to this role, where I have worked with ACC, I've seen individuals dedicate huge amounts of funds into fighting ACC. And this is definitely not ideal when so often these individuals have injuries which have impacted their ability to have a steady income in the first place. While things are going really great for us, we continue to look and monitor all our member feedback. We have regular quality reviews of our processes, and we are always looking to refine so that we can reduce timeframes and we can prevent human errors from impacting on our member journey. So our members love what we do. So what is it exactly that we have done in approximately 10 months? So we have reviewed, and this number is slightly outdated now, we have reviewed 1,487 member claims to determine whether they're eligible for ACC. Now this is quite a big thing in itself. What we might have is we might have Mrs. Brown arrive today and put in a pre-approval because she wants to have her leg fixed, and there might be no mention of an injury there. But what we've found on more than one occasion is that by looking back and having a really good analysis of the history, we're able to see that actually Mrs. Brown's leg was injured 5 years ago, and for some reason there was never a claim lodged. So we're able to take those types of things, and then we're able to advocate and work on behalf of that member to get those entitlements unlocked for them. In the short time that we've been working, we've had 94 claims overturned by ACC. This in itself is a number I'm really, really proud of, and it shows how hard we've been working. There's been 621 members who, through this new team, have been able to be case managed within our team. That means there's been 621 members who have had that additional level of care and support. And we've been able to refer over and get 66 members into population health management programs. This number is a number that I am confident we will continue to see rise, because what we do is we often wait until it's the right time for that member to be moved over to a population health program, because what we're also extremely mindful of is not overwhelming the member with too much going on for them at any one time. Feedback, which as I said before, I look at regularly. There's definitely themes that come through. People are genuinely grateful for having that wraparound care, for having somebody who's walking alongside them in their journey. The word stress comes up time and time again. It's very stressful dealing with ACC, and members are telling us that they feel relieved of that stress when we come on board and work alongside them. This in itself, I believe, is adding so much value for our members. So what's in it for you? We see this as a great value add to help you grow your business. It's another benefit of getting NIB cover. Not only do we have an ACC team here, but we've got dedicated case managers, so you can be sure that your member is getting that one-on-one care. It's a value add for existing members, and it's another reason for people to retain cover. But it's also that additional reassurance now that, hey, maybe something that happened to me 2 years ago, maybe something will happen around that, and we'll start to see some change. And it's that direct access to our ACC team to be able to have all your questions, and I mean all your questions relating to ACC, and whether it's a could be, maybe, should be, or would be, and any queries you've got, they're answered directly by our subject matter experts. Look, I've been really, really grateful for the time that I've had today to be able to come here and talk to you all about it. It's a new thing for our team. We're working hard. There's still loads of opportunities for more to come in. We urge you, if you've got questions relating to your members, to reach out to us and ask us those questions so that we can start to make a difference for them as well. So I thank you all for listening to me again, and I'll hand it over to you now, Andrew. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. You have provided what no doubt will be valuable going forward and showing how NIB are working with ACC in a unique way in market in order to provide an excellent service proposition during a complex situation for yourself as advisors and our members when navigating having healthcare needs met between ACC and private health insurance. As you can see from the information Megan supplies, ACC is a huge area that affects a vast number of New Zealanders. We believe it is key to Key that NIB do our part in ensuring that the member gets a favourable outcome. Today, we have illustrated that in addition of the ACC team and the new processes, there's another way that NIB are working with you as advisors, your clients and our members to ensure having their healthcare needs fulfilled as simple as possible. It is part of our commitment to continue to support and advocate for our members and make the member come at the heart of everything we do. On the invite to this webinar, we asked you to submit a few questions you had regarding ACC and the ACC team at NIB. We've just picked out a few of those that we are going to answer now. So the first is, will NIB approve the claim and make payment first before ACC make a decision?
The answer to that is yes, absolutely. This is where I was talking about earlier, where our MOU comes into play. So where the claim would be covered under the policy, NIB will pay for it, and what will happen behind the scenes is ACC will then work it out and determine who is responsible. So things for the member itself will just go along as usual.
Okay, so thanks for Megan. The second question we had is, what happens if the ACC related claim is outside of NIB's policy benefits?
So the level of involvement here is determined on a case-by-case basis, but essentially, in the interest of keeping it simple, essentially the NIB ACC team, we will still, at the very minimum, take a role in advocating for the member to have that ACC decision overturned.
And the third question was, what if I see a non-first network provider for an ACC related claim, or my client says I've got non-first choice network provider?
So ideally, we love to see our members seeing FCM health partners. However, if somebody is choosing to see a non-first choice provider, this won't impact at all. The ACC impact will stay exactly the same, but the usual gap payments will apply.
Thanks, Megan. So just to conclude, I'd just like to thank you all for attending once again. I believe the information provided today has given insight on how we are working with you and your clients. If you have any questions about the ACC team, ACC, or anything discussed today, please reach out to the ACC team or your advisor partner manager. As mentioned, this is the first in a series of webinars that we'll be running. Please keep an eye out for the date of the second webinar in the series, which will be coming soon. And don't forget, health comes first.